Hi everyone, today we're going to be learning about section 9.5, which is common factors. When we're working with common factors, this is when two numbers are multiplied and they form a product. Remember, product is when you multiply two numbers and you get the answer. Each number that you multiply is a factor of that product. When you're asked to factor a polynomial such as 3x squared plus 12x, the first step is to find the greatest common factor between your 3x squared and your 12x. When you think about it, what is your greatest common factor of 3x and 12x? Well, it's going to be 3x. So when we rewrite this, we're going to consider 3x squared plus 12x and take out the greatest common factor. So if 3x is the greatest common factor, 3x squared divided by 3x is just going to give me x, which we have here. If I do 12x divided by 3x, that gives me 4, which we get here. So when we rewrite this, we pull out the greatest common factor, put that in front of the parentheses, so we have 3x. Inside the parentheses is what we divide the greatest common factor, so we get x plus 4. Here are a few examples of how we're going to factor out polynomials. So for these questions, it says find the greatest common factor for each situation. Then rewrite the polynomial. So let's look at the first example. We have 6ab plus 3a. What is the greatest common factor between this polynomial situation here? Well, if we think about it, our greatest common factor is going to be 3a. So if that's going to be our greatest common factor, we divide the first part, 6ab divided by 3a, and when we divide that, we're going to get 2b. In dividing 3a on this side, we get 1. So inside the parentheses, we're going to have 2b plus 1. Outside the parentheses, we put our greatest common factor, which is our 3a. And that is how we go about factoring polynomials. The next example, we have to find what is the greatest common factor to 5x to the third power plus 10x squared minus 20x. Well, our greatest common factor here is going to be 5x. So let's think about this. If we divide each situation by 5x, and if that's my greatest common factor, we put that outside the parentheses. 5x cubed divided by 5x is going to give me x squared plus 10x squared divided by 5x is going to give me 2x minus 20x divided by 5x, that is going to give me 4. So my final answer here, my greatest common factor outside the parentheses, 5x. We divide each situation by the greatest common factor, so inside the parentheses we get x squared plus 2x minus 4. Here we have a situation where we're going to factor the first one. We have a times what's in the parentheses, x minus 3, plus 6x minus 3. Now looking at this situation right here, ladies and gentlemen, what we see inside the parentheses is both x minus 3. And what this contains are common binomial factors. What that means is x minus 3 and you have the same x minus 3. So how can we factor this out and simplify this? Well, if we look at this, our first way we can factor this out is to just write my x minus 3 once. So we took care of what's inside the parentheses here. But then we still have our a plus 6. So how can I write this out? Well, we're going to multiply a plus 6. So this is a factored out situation of what we find similar in the parentheses, x minus 3, and then we pull out our a and our 6, so we put that inside the parentheses, a plus Actually, that's not B. That would be 6. Let's look at the next example. Hopefully it'll clarify a little bit more for you here. We have R times t plus 1 inside the parentheses plus S times t plus 1. Notice we have t plus 1 and t plus 1 inside both the parentheses. So I'm going to bring that down and do t plus 1 for my first set of parentheses, but we still have to deal with my R and my S. What are you doing between these two binomials here? We are adding. So in my other set of parentheses, I'll put R plus S, and this is going to be my final answer. And this is how we factor out polynomials given with what's in the parentheses. They're the same situations. These are our last examples for the day. We are going to be factoring out by grouping. These two problems look very similar, but they are different. Notice the first one has all plus signs. The second problem has negatives. So let's look at this. We have ax plus bx. Notice both of these have an x, so we're going to set this up as a binomial of ax plus bx. Plus we're going to group the other set, which is my ay and by, and I'm grouping those because they both have the y's in them. Now we can factor out similar variables here. What is my similar variable in the first set of parentheses? It's going to be x. So if I factor out my x, I'll put that in front. Inside the parentheses, what will I have left? A plus b. Let's factor out the second set of parentheses. We have y's in both for here. So I'm going to factor out my y. What's going to be inside my parentheses? A plus b. So what I've done here is I factored out similar variables. Now what I'm going to do is notice I have in my parentheses a plus b, they're the same, so I have to now write this as an expression similar to the factoring we did on the previous slide. So what is my first set of factoring going to be? It's going to be what's similar inside the parentheses, which is a plus b, times, we still have to deal with my x and my y, times my x plus y. Let's look at the second example. We have ax plus bx minus ay minus by. Well, let's group these based on similar variables. We have ax plus bx. That's my first set because they both have x's. Then let's set it up so we're grouping my second set of similar variables, which are the y's. So there's a subtraction sign between. So minus ay minus by. Let's factor out what we call on one of the first slides the greatest common factor. Well, for the first set, it's going to be x. So I pull out my x. Inside the parentheses, we have a plus b, minus factoring out the y's. Inside the parentheses, now we have a minus b. Why minus? Because the minus sign here. In the parentheses, do we notice similar variables? Yes, a plus b, and here we have a minus b. But think about it, ladies and gentlemen. When we have a negative and a negative, what does that become? It's going to become a positive. So we can still write a plus b times my x minus y, because the y is connected with the negative here. And this will be my final answer. I hope you wrote all those notes down in your notebook. You do have some bookwork that you need to get done. It is due tomorrow. It is page 450. You need to do problems 6 through 8, 11 through 12, and 13 through 23 all. We will go over this when I return. Also, remember we have a notebook check tomorrow, which is Friday.